Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated. We wait the arrival of the Chairman of the Senate, Yousaf Raza Gillani Sahab, who is also here as the Acting President of Pakistan. फोयर में मौजूद मेहमानों से दरख्वास्त है कि वो हॉल में वापस लौट जाएं और अपनी नशिस्तों पर बैठ जाएं। शुक्रिया। फोयर में मौजूद मेहमानों से दरख्वास्त है कि वो अपनी नशिस्तों पर लौट जाएं। सेशन का आगाज़ अब से कुछ देर में होने वाला है। फोयर में मौजूद तमाम मेहमानों से दरख्वास्त है कि वो हॉल में वापस लौट जाएं और अपनी नशिस्तों पर बैठ जाएं। सेशन का आगाज़ अब से कुछ देर में होने वाला है। शुक्रिया। Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to welcome, for our closing keynote address, Chairman of the Senate, Janab Yousaf Raza Gillani, who is serving as the Acting President of Pakistan. He is flanked by Rumina Khurshid Alam, Coordinator for Climate Change to the Prime Minister of Pakistan. The chairman of the next session is Mr. Yousaf Raza Gillani. I would now like to invite Florence Rolle of FAO and Aban Kabraji of UNEP and Davar Bhatt of CFP to join the panel, please. Ms. Aban Kabraji will serve as a facilitator for this closing session.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome everyone. Welcome, sir, Your Excellency, Your Excellencies. This is the concluding session of what has been, to my mind, an extremely successful conference. Hosted in collaboration with Dawn Media and your government, which has been enormously helpful and supportive, particularly through the Ministry of Climate Change, since it is, of course, their subject area. And having been in many, many conferences over the world for many years, I say without any prejudice, although I'm a Pakistani, so we take that into account, but I say without any prejudice, this is one of the most extraordinary gatherings I've seen in Pakistan in a long time, and in fact in a lot of Asia. The level of interchange, the quality of speeches, and its content has been truly impressive. The fact that it has had a South Asia regional component, and we have brought people from all over South Asia to participate, I think is something that needs to be recognized, acknowledged, and appreciated, because it has come with great government openness, support, and collaboration. The interventions have been rich, varied, and we've seen a real cross-sector of society here, a very high level of private sector participation, enormous information in terms of the specifics of what is needed in terms of addressing the problems of climate change. We had thought about perhaps bringing some resolutions forward, but resolutions require discussion and agreement. We haven't had the time to do that. So we will present to you the outcomes of the conference, which have been reviewed by the ministry and by the participants who have been collaborating and had a role in the discussions. And for that, I'm going to ask my colleague Florence to present them, and hopefully they'll find consensus and approval and form the basis of the plan to take forward for execution for everything we've done, hopefully again in collaboration with Dawn and of course with the leadership under the Ministry of Climate Change. Florence.
Thank you, Aban. Excellencies, it's an honor for me to be sitting here today. Before starting giving you the outcome of the conference, I just would like to say two things, and a big, big congratulations to Dawn, because it's much easier to do this kind of event after a calamity, after, something. There is nothing big happening in Pakistan, and they managed to pull everybody together to speak about climate change. And the second congratulation also to Dawn is because they brought civil society and medias from the region. And it's a fantastic example of how the media can be leveraged for the country to something which is so important like climate change for Pakistan. With this caveat, let me give you now the outcome of the conference. The first is about the recognition, and when I say we, it's the conference, okay? So, excuse my English. So, the first one is on climate, on the key aspect that climate change is not something in isolation. Climate change affects all sectors of life, of the economy, and the environment. Therefore, it has to have, we have to address it in a multi-sectoral and a multi-dimensional way. And we welcome, the government, federal and provincial government, which are looking at their investment through a climate change impact length. And we could even encourage to go towards not only climate change length, but zero net or nature positive length. We call for the government to commit, to push for action. Everybody said it from the first day until the end. Climate talk, yes, but we need climate action. And this climate action should happen because it's multidimensional and multisectoral in all this variety of sectors. The second part is on climate finance. It has been a big, hot topic discussed during these 2 days. So the conference realized that the gap between Pakistan climate finance needs and availability of funding is enormous. We believe that there is a dear need for Pakistan to advance climate finance agenda, to mobilize internal resources and enhance the capacity to attract these climate finance opportunities. So there is the need for enhancing global climate action, international cooperation to mitigate the impact of climate change based on these established principles of equity and common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities. The gap between the global finance commitments and their implementation should be narrowed with a balance focused on adaptation and mitigation as well as loss and damage. The third one is on an initiative or a program which is called Living Indus, which brings all the province, Gilgit and Kashmir, together towards a common vision on restoring the ecosystem of the Indus Basin. The government is deeply committed to the transformative agenda of the Living Indus initiative, and it's reflected through strategic policy, programs, action that are being implemented at the moment to ensure the restoration of the health of the basin. The fourth is about women. You will know, Excellencies, that women and girls are most affected. I always more affected than men on climate change. We all know the reasons. So we look forward for measures, specific measures for adopting and implementing strategy on climate change mitigation and adaptation to support the resilience of these women and girls in Pakistan. There are three other aspects that I'll bring together. It's because it's related to agriculture and water. One is on food security. The population of Pakistan in 2050, according to the estimates, can go to 380 million. Is the Indus Basin going to be able to feed its population? So the importance of safeguarding it, restoring it, and doing an agriculture which is saving the water in order to produce enough for the population has been emphasized quite importantly. The second part is food which is produced is also transported, processed, and exported. And this agri-food system needs to be transformed to produce healthy food, affordable food, protect the environment, and improve the livelihoods of smallholder farmers. Then trees. Trees have a huge potential to mitigate and to restore ecosystems. So we appreciate that the government of Pakistan, in collaboration with provincial authorities, is committed to a transformative agenda for the conservation and sustainable management of the country forest resources. They play a vital role, and we heard at the previous session the importance of even agroforestry use of trees for within the agriculture sector. A big thing, air pollution. This is the thing which has been happening this year since November. A big discussion, and we encourage the government to develop a policy and an action plan to save the resources of Pakistan, including precious glaciers. We also encourage the government and the private sector to use and import innovative technology in order to reduce this air pollution. Then I have only 3 more, then it's done. Then one which is key and is the private sector. How the government incentivize the private sector to do the right thing and to shift their business model from short-term gain to long-term gain, to long-term sustainability. So then I've got children and youth. And, you know, you have, I don't remember the exact numbers, it was this morning, but more than 20 million, 40 or 20? 45, you see? She knows better than me. 45 young population between 15 and 25. They have a huge potential of creativity, of mobilization, which should be harnessed for the combat of climate change. So we appreciate the government of Pakistan, which is committed to the protection, development, and empowerment of children and youth, and recognizing them as a driving force behind the nation's future. We look forward for comprehensive policy programs to ensure access to quality education, healthcare, and opportunities. The last one, I started with congratulated Dawn, and I'm going to finish with the media. We really recognize the pivotal role of media in promoting awareness about climate change, transparency, accountability, and informed public discourse. Committed to unholding freedom of expression and the independence of the press, efforts are being made to create an enabling environment for responsible journalism and the ethical dissemination of information. And I will go even further and to help all of us to take action. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Florence. Gillani Sahab, I would now like to request you, based on the asks from our panel, to take to the podium and address the gathering.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable Minister for Climate Change, Ms. Romina Khurshid Alam, Ms. Aban Kabraji, Ms. Florence Rolle, Mr. Daba Bhatt, distinguished guests, climate advocates, Assalamu alaikum, and a very warm welcome to all. It is an honor before you today as we conclude this momentous, brief Pakistan International Climate Change Conference. A gathering that has not only amplified the urgency of climate action, but also reaffirmed our collective resolve to combat one of the greatest challenges in our time. Over the past 2 days, we have witnessed profound discussions, insightful policy debates, and transformative ideas aimed at securing sustainable and resilient future for Pakistan and the world. from mitigating carbon emissions to enhancing climate finance, fostering renewable energy solutions, and strengthening community resilience. This conference has underscored that climate change is not just an environmental concern, but a fundamental issue of economic security, social justice, national sovereignty. Pakistan stands at the front line of the climate crisis. We have endured devastating floods. We have seen prolonged droughts, glacial melting, and rising temperatures that threaten not just livelihoods, but entire ecosystems. The historic floods of 2022, which displaced millions and caused billions in economic losses, served as a stark reminder that climate change is no longer a distant threat. It is lived reality in our people. Despite contributing less than 1% to global greenhouse emissions, Pakistan remains among the top 10 most vulnerable countries to climate change. This disproportionate impact calls for urgent global responsibility and equity in climate finance and technology transfer. Ladies and gentlemen, from a policy of perspective, we remain committed to ensuring that climate action is a legislative priority. We have already taken significant steps for climate change and green energy transition, promoting renewable energy solutions, including solar, wind, and hydropower to reduce our dependency on fossil fuels. Water resource management is another pressing issue for addressing Pakistan's water scarcity challenges through conservation policies and integrated water governance. Climate finance and carbon markets are also being explored through innovative financial mechanisms to support the green infrastructure, green taxonomy, and climate smart agriculture. And lastly, disaster risk reduction, DRR, safeguard vulnerable communities. As a representative of Pakistan's legislative body, we pledge to work closely with stakeholders, government, agencies, private sector leaders, civil society, and international partners to drive policy, coherence, transparency, and accountability in implementing these climate initiatives. Pakistan cannot fight this battle alone. The principles of climate justice demand that undeveloped nations uphold their commitments under the Paris Agreement, from fulfilling the $100 billion annual climate finance pledging to ensure fair access to technology for developing countries. We call upon the global community to translate pledges into concrete actions, ensuring that vulnerable nations like Pakistan receive the support they need to build a climate resilient future. Ladies and gentlemen, here I would also like to address empowering our youth and creating conducive environment for greener future. Today's youth are not just the leaders of tomorrow. They are the change makers of today. We must equip them with tools, education, platforms necessary to lead Pakistan's transition to green economy. Innovation in green technology, sustainable agriculture, and climate entrepreneurship will be key drivers to this transformation. I encourage all young minds present here to take ownership of this mission, whether through research, advocacy, or sustainable business ventures. The future of Pakistan depends on your passion and vision. As we close this conference, let us remember the climate action is not an event, but a movement, one that demands relentless commitment, bold leadership, and unwavering collaboration. Let this conference be a turning point where ideas turn into policies, policies turn into actions, and actions turn into climate-resilient Pakistan. I extend my deepest gratitude to Dawn Media, organizers, experts, international partners, and all participants who have made this conference a huge success. The road ahead is challenging, but together we'll build a cleaner, greener, and more sustainable Pakistan for generations to come. Let us act, not just talk. Let us lead, not just follow. Let us make Breathe Pakistan a reality, not just a slogan. Pakistan Zindabad.
Thank you, Gillani Sahab. On this note, we would like to conclude Breathe Pakistan, Dawn Media's two-day International Climate Change Conference. Over the course of the last 2 days, we at Dawn Media have attempted to bring together the public and private sector, government institutions, and climate experts to forge long-term solutions for a sustainable future. We hope to amplify each and every voice and every viewpoint at this forum, and we will continue to work with our stakeholders to ensure Pakistan becomes self-reliant and is able to adapt to the changes of climate change. We would like to say a special thank you to our principal partners, the United Nations, Pakistan, and our strategic partners, the Government of Punjab and the Government of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, supported by Unilever, EVM, the Ministry of Climate Change, OGDCL, BYD Mega Motors, and our knowledge partners, the World Bank, Pakistan Business Council, and step towards fighting our collective future. It is now up to all of us to turn the dream of a climate-resilient Pakistan into a reality. Pakistan Zindabad. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We bid adieu to you today and look forward to welcoming you again next year, inshallah.